Hi, Leo. How are you? What you been up to? Okay, so, I saw the color green really strong. I actually saw a green suitcase. But the color green, and then something you can put something in was the second thing, right? It makes it easier to move from one place to the other. I also saw these words like suitcase of dreams. So maybe your dream state or dream time could be helpful to pay attention to. What are you daydreaming about also lately? Like, I know it's kind of an in-between time, but it is an imaginative time, and you are very creative. So, remember where you are committed. Who had that card? Just a second. I heard you have a friend in me, you have a friend indeed. Scorpio. Scorpio will be helpful. I see the moon in Scorpio too. So, you already been around the block enough to know, right? You know, there are different seasons for things, right? I do feel as if you want to trust yourself too, especially if this hasn't happened yet, because you have this card of Demeter, which is a card of growth, right? She usually rules the grains, kind of like the Kitsune holds the key to Queen Inari's, Goddess Inari's granary, right? It's that which sustains us whilst we're upon this earth, whilst we're here. But Demeter also has to always go without. But really the only reason why that happened, or why that happens, is because, well, I suppose there are multiple reasons, but there's compromise with this card, right? And it's sort of, in the story, the way it is now, there's things that are sort of conditional. So you have to trust yourself there. Like, maybe you can have most of something, but not all of something. Or you also want to realize, okay, like, is this growing? Is this, is this, even if you can't see it, like, do you feel like it's growing? Do you feel good about it, right? I keep hearing like little dinging, like little dings. I don't know if it's like a bell or some kind of little. It's gentle though. It's not like a harsh alarm. It's like little indications. I would also be thrifty in this time, Leo. Say financially. There's also seeds planted here, right? So you've been putting in effort. Especially those of you who have really done some deep, like, you've done some deep diving into your shadow. You are coming more into this centered place. Because sometimes Demeter even is like sexual trauma. Because she was raped by Poseidon. She was also raped by Zeus, and that's how she created Persephone, and then Persephone was raped by Hades, and it's like this repeat of like family patterning, right? So I guess whatever the level is here, wherever you've dove into that kind of situation, or even just your own patterning having to do with wherever you came from, and how, like, who you are now as a person, and coming more in tune with, well, the health of who you are, like, because Demeter also has to do, to me, the health of the body, right? And forgiveness. So I know January, February, there was some strong stuff there, right? You have this Black Moon card. So it's always slower in Saturn time. But I see actually as Pisces, this Pisces time, I also see further down the line, something growing. Scorpio's reading will be very helpful for you. I'm seeing like an overlap here. You also have these three goddesses here that you can find in your map if you want to. Athena, Pallas Athena, which we've done a video on. Artemis, and Demeter, which is also known as Ceres, usually in the map, Ceres. Ceres right now supposedly is in Libra. And part of the reason that Ceres or Demeter represents having to, like, sometimes a loss of something or like a separation of something is because her symbol actually looks like a sickle. And again, because she's Earth, she connects to Saturn. In this card, she's Virgo, there's Aries, and then I also see Gemini. So I suppose it's a conversation about who you are with yourself right now would be very helpful. I mean, you can have conversations, of course, with other people, and you will. And I do see that it's important to have a conversation about what you're committed to, also, especially when it comes to the emotional level of things. And if there are any sort of dormant energy that hasn't, it's not just like you put a seed in the ground and it takes X amount of time for it to break through its shell and then shoot up right into this world. But that which, if there's anything you've been putting a lot of time into, and I see this has to do with what you're committed to again, then, you know, it's kind of like, well, because Demeter's almost feeling like a Plutonian energy where it's like, well, you know, well, I knew that would work. And then there's also something where, like, I guess if you don't remember, Leo, if you don't believe in something, if you don't really believe in your heart that something is possible, then it just doesn't do it. And so I see, what are the conversations, again, you're having in yourself about what you're wanting? Because this also has to do with May, your birthday, and then all the way to next year. Oh, no, I see. It's also May, which is Venus, you, which is Sun, August, and then I see October, which is another Venus. So what's Venus? Love. Comfort. It's Taurus, throat, talking about Libra, fairness, and relationships. It's realizing that you are love. You are loved. But because you are the light, the shadow is always all around you. Right? And sometimes you got to use your instincts with what relationships are suiting or not. I also see that some of you could misplace something, or maybe there's something you've misplaced. That maybe something will return to you. You actually have this commitment card. I feel like Capricorn had this, Aries had this, somebody else. It's really pretty, right? Oh, Scorpio also had the isolation card. Oh, so some of you are coming out of the darkness. Good. Shedding light on something. And it's like a clicking, or like, again, that bell. There's some kind of like ding, or maybe it's like that. I just saw, those little light bulbs above your head, like, oh, right there. Okay. It's like maybe something just becomes so obvious that you're like, oh my God. And I saw someone smack them in their head, but it's not like someone self-deprecating, like, oh my God, I should have seen that, or how did I not know, or that kind of thing, because you already know, Leo, right? We always already know. But whatever it is that you didn't know, or you couldn't see, and now you can, I suppose just be grateful for that, right? It'd be like, well, okay. And I keep hearing it. It would be like, I knew that would work. Or, I knew that wouldn't work. Or I heard, I knew that wasn't for me. I knew that was for, yeah, that feels like it's for me. There's a little bit more of a question around the for you. A little more directive in relation to you and others, because who we put ourselves around, right? The people we're around is who we are, right? What's the Spanish proverb? It's like, show me a person's friends and I'll show you who they are. Who they hang around with. Okay. Let's see. You know how you can figure out also, if you're ever questioning, like, is this person my friend? Should I continue seeing this person? Does this person care about me? Whatever the situation is. Well, you can always, well, how do I see this? Well, take space from it and see what comes back to you. I mean, it kind of seems like a test a little bit, but sometimes it's the easiest way to figure out how you really feel about something is to be within it and then take space from it, right? I see May for you again. This is when Jupiter moves. Forward. Let's see. Okay, I guess we're supposed to choose one of these other ones to close this out. These cards are really pretty. It's called the Majestic Earth. It's kind of hard to find. This deck, I had to wait I found this, like I realized it existed. I was like, ooh, this exists. Wow, that's so beautiful, you know? Just really, really drawn to it. And then I realized it was like, it wasn't available. And so I was like, okay. I was like, well, but I realized that it wasn't available in that moment. But sometimes it was, but you couldn't, it didn't really have an exact time. The timeline wasn't like written down like, oh, on this date you'll have this, you can have this. It was just kind of like, it will be available. And I waited, and one time it became available, and I tried to see if I could grab it, right? And, I was a little late, so I was like, it's okay. Because it's just something that I wanted. It wasn't something ultimately that I needed, you know? And then on the third time's a charm, right? On the third time, it was available, and I was on time, and everything lined right up, and now it exists, and I can hold it, I can touch it. Let's see what your card is. The Steward of Clouds. Interesting. Okay, so you have to use your discretion in this time, Leo. Okay? So the stewards here are the pages, which means we are learning the element and its usage. The clouds are air, right? Just a second. So this is a painting. These are all paintings. I think that's why I enjoyed it so much. This painting is of a cemetery. It's actually entitled The Cemetery, from 1825 by Caspar David Friedrich. He was born in 1774 and went to heaven, left his body in 1840. He was German. This is actually at the New Masters Gallery in Dresden, Germany, at this time. You see that person there? Looks like a person, right? So this card calls for alertness, suspicion, and being shrewd, but with curiosity and caution, not ill intent. It says to dissolve in air is to be sharp of mind, witty with tongue, and adept at avoiding blowback. So this kind of lines up with this black moon energy. So, and Demeter is a bit about grieving to an extent. It's about learning how to let go. But then realizing again that it's like she has like 3/4 of the time. She doesn't have 1/4 of the time. 3 out of 4 ain't bad, right? 3 out of 4 ain't bad. So again, be observant and use your discretion in relation to how you're spending money, what you're connecting to. I see what your animals are telling you. If you have animals or animals that are around you, pay attention. I would also say if you're into plant medicine, there could be something where maybe you find you're starting to learn more about that, or because this is also trusting yourself in what you're growing. Okay. And You know, wherever if for some reason, if where you're at is, it's like, how do I explain that? Just a second. Okay, so Athena in this deck represents the wealth of inherited talents and gifts, those of which can be used for the good of others and or for self-advancement. Now, as Athena is usually like a very independent person. Like, she never got married, she never had kids or anything like that. She kind of was like a tomboy. She was her father's favorite. But with Athena arriving in this spread, especially near the card of commitment again, it's kind of like, usually Athena would go out and just do it for herself again, be like, I do whatever I want. But a person solely looking after their own interests is not what is wanted here. So whether this is you or somebody that you're dealing with, just use discernment there and observation to what is the giving and receiving of the situation. Okay, within that. This is also creative thought, so it could be a part of it where it's like, okay, I'd like to be more committed to this, or I'd like to, for some of you, you've been single for a long time and you're like, I want to get more out in the world, feeling singular. It could be like you want more friends, or you want to start dating again, or you want to just come, again, if you've also been in the darkness some way, somehow, it's like coming out again into the light. Getting out of the cemetery, which was a Taurus reading a long time ago. So, it's something about that. Also, defensive people are not... It's not loving. You know what I mean? But again, I suppose whatever's around us is a lesson to us. It can be a part of us. It can be what we can be if we wanted to be. Your other reading, actually, I found a couple old notebooks as I've been going through some of my things. And, it talked about this time where I'm so glad I wrote it down, because I didn't even remember half of it until I got back into the story, until I read that story again. And at that time I was being really, really honest with myself. Like, I talked about what I was addicted to and who I was hanging around and what I was doing. And when I go back, I'm like, wow, I remember that time and it was trippy, but like, that isn't who I am anymore. You know what I mean? Like, we change. And so I see, there's congratulations. I see people clapping for, and then I see that color green again, for whatever you have moved from one place to another, shifted inside of you, or again, decided to put effort into things to help it grow. Using your skills and your talents, of discernment, of love, of art, of forgiveness. And, changing who you are as a person, it does feel like death sometimes, Oh, look at that. There's a different card in here. What is it? Six of Wands. What a beautiful card of success. For all your hard work, right? Hard work is rewarded. Leo. I do feel like there's some good, like, plant friends or animal friends, human friends. Like, pay attention to that which is around you. Okay? Because I do feel like there's a lot of goodness there, but you may have to do a little bit of weeding, especially if you're realizing that, like, you're in this new stage. Try not to go back, because, you know, it's easy to go back to... It's easy to go back to who you were when you were that person for a really long time, right? There's like a rutted road there. You know, it's almost like it's like a hole. And if you've gotten out of the hole, then no need to, I don't know. Don't get too close to the edge, right? Don't put yourself in any precarious situations. You're smarter than that. Again, take space from things and see what other people do. Take space from things and be creative in your own way. This will also help you to balance yourself out. You know, remember, you always need space to balance yourself emotionally. You need to clear your mind, right? To communicate the way that you want to feel, you know, because you can push yourself a lot, but you know you need alone time to really rejuvenate. So take that. Okay, it's and I guess with Demeter also, if something hasn't quite left your life yet, like something hasn't changed in this sort of physical way, that's very conscious and sort of a bit relative to let's say recently, then remember you have a choice in a sense of how you want that to go. You know, you can just, you know, I saw someone picking off like yellow leaves on a plant, you know, like they were dead anyway. You know, it's just something clinging on. It's like, no, just put that in the burn pile. You know, and I do see you have a choice. In the way, especially in the way you want to feel about whatever's happening. Okay. All right. I love you so much. I hope that was helpful. Oh, one last thing. Although I forgot for Scorpio. We were on a different trip, but let's see what your song is, Leo. What is it? Oh, come on. Don't be difficult. Alright, well, it won't show me the lyrics. But, it's Richie Havens. And the song is entitled Follow. Alright, I guess that's that. In closing, I thank you for being here. Those of you who are still here, I do hope you have a great month. Thank you for being understanding and so extending your kindnesses. It's really appreciated. It was appreciated. It is appreciated. Thank you. Thank you for being who you are. Thank you for where you invest your time, where you've invested your time, how you know, and what you now are holding close to your heart, you know. Maybe I see someone like people hugging. So thanks. I'll talk to you next time. Stay away from barking dogs. Peace out.